Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the matter before the court to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, subject to the means and penalties of perjury?
Feel free to move that chair wherever you're comfortable.
Okay.
You can also move the mic.
Okay,
There you go.
perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bloodworth, please proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
What is your name?
Katie Richins-Benson.
And is your last name spelled Richins-Benson?
You got it.
Okay. I'm going to stand here because I would like you to address the jury. And I'm hoping that if I stand close to the jury, if you mistakenly shift to me, you're still addressing them.
Okay.
Do you know Eric Richins?
Yes, he was my brother.
Did you grow up with him?
Yes, yes. We are only 2 years apart, so we were inseparable.
What was your relationship like as you grew up together?
So we did everything together. We went to school together. We worked on a ranch. So we have a family ranch that's been passed down for generations. We worked on the ranch together. We fished. We hiked. We did everything together.
How has that relationship continued into adulthood?
So my brother and I were very close. We talked constantly. We spent holidays together. We had our families together, so our kids are very close in age. We did lots of activities with our kids together. Like I said, we had them on the ranch all the time together, talked on the phone almost daily.
What was Eric's personality like as an adult?
Eric was one of the most likable people. I'm sorry, guys. Okay.
There are tissues if you'd like.
Okay. So, he was one of... Sorry, I'm trying so hard. He was one of the most likable people you've ever met. So, Eric was the kind of person that loved everyone. It did not matter who you were, where you came from, where he met you. Everyone thought they were his best friend. If you talked to him, they all said, I'm Eric's best friend, because that's the way Eric made you feel. He was upbeat. He was positive. He literally would give a stranger he met on the side of the road his jacket, anything to help anyone out. That's the kind of person he was.
What did he like to do? How did he spend his time?
So, the number one thing that Eric loved was his kids. So he would do anything for his boys. He was the best dad you would ever see. He was a phenomenal uncle. If there were kids involved, he was there. He would show up. So whether it be soccer games, so he coached my nephew's soccer. And he was the dad that coached, that went and got all the signs that were special, so he'd get there before the soccer games, put all the signs up so the kids had their team name everywhere. He also was adamant about making sure they learned how to work. So my parents were very focused on teaching us how to work, to have that strong work ethic. So he had his kids on the ranch, teaching them how to work. He loved the outdoors. He loved to play sports. Anything that revolved around his family, the outdoors, is what my brother loved.
Did he plan for his children's future?
Yes. So there's not a waking moment that my brother was not focused on his kids. So he had money set aside every single month to go into a fund so that by the time the kids got to college, they could pay for their college and hopefully have some left over for like a down payment on a house or something like that. He had every aspect planned. This is the kind of dad Eric was. So I told you we have a ranch. I love horses. My brother did too, but not quite as much as me. He liked ATVs a little bit better. So his oldest son, Carter, loved horses from the day he was born. He and I share that. So Eric tried to get Carter with me as much as possible on the horse because that's what Carter loved. I would ride the horse with my little nephew in front of me, and my brother would be to the side of me with an ATV with food, snacks, anything that Carter needed. He would have it right there so that Carter didn't have to get off the horse because he wanted Carter to be able to do whatever he wanted. And if Carter would fall asleep, which he would sometimes, Eric would take him into the side-by-side, hold him until he woke up, bring him right back up to me, put him back on the horse, and let him go the rest of the day.
Have you ever observed Eric sick or injured?
Yes. So my brother and I are very close. And so when he was an adult, he played sports all growing up. But when he was an adult, he liked to play adult softball. He did get hit a few times. He got hit by a ball, and these games would go till like midnight, 1 o'clock. He would call me at 1 o'clock in the morning if he got hit to tell me my leg hurt. I don't know if something happened, if it is broken a little bit, if it's just bruised, and I would answer the phone no matter what time it was and say, hey, do you need me to come get you? What can I do to help you? And he'd be like, oh, I think I can toughen it out. I'll call you in the morning and let you know. But honestly, it didn't matter if he was in another country. He called me from other countries to tell me he didn't feel well. So if his mental or physical well-being was ever in question, he would call me.
Other than allergy medication, have you ever seen Eric use an over-the-counter drug?
The only thing I've ever seen him use is Advil.
Have you ever seen Eric use prescription drugs?
No.
Have you ever seen Eric use illicit drugs?
No. Growing up, my mom was a drug and alcohol counselor. She taught us the dangers of those and really ingrained that in us.
Were you and Eric working on any future plans when he died?
Yes. So we were planning a trip to Disneyland that year to take our kids. He also has a child. His middle child, Ashton, is extraordinary in math. We were finding programs to get Ashton enrolled in that summer for coding so that we could kind of harness that math. He was only 7 at the time, but he's just outstanding. So we had just barely gone to the zoo together. We kind of just planned our lives together. We talked all the time.
Are you familiar with the home that Eric lived in when he died?
Yes, I owned it and I sold it to my brother.
Scott, if you can...
All right, there's that emotion that the jury likely wants to humanize Eric from his sister on the stand. Also to know, she says she never saw him take any prescription drugs, nothing outside of Advil. All right, coming up, more testimony from Eric Richins' sister in the murder trial for Kouri Richins. Keep it right here on Court TV.
Kouri has paraded around portraying herself as widow and victim while trying to profit from a book about his death. I never knew evil like this existed.
The Grief Author Murder Trial. Live coverage weekday mornings, 8/7 Central on Court TV.
I'm Vinny Politan. Welcome to Closing Arguments.
What's happening here?
It's unreal. Let me show you exactly what happened.
Closing Arguments with Vinny Politan. Tonight at 8/7 Central. Only on Court TV. See.
Let's head back to Utah now, where the trial for Kouri Richins is underway. Now, she's the mom who wrote a children's book on grief for her children after her husband's death, but prosecutors say she's the one who killed her spouse, Eric Richins, with a deadly dose of fentanyl added in his Moscow Mule. Now, they accuse her of having an affair at the time of Eric's death and masterminding his murder for financial gain. Now, Kouri has pleaded not guilty to all of those charges. Let's head back into court now where the victim's sister is still on the stand.
Scott, if you can bring up 1-1, please, for Your Honor, for everybody but the jury. Do you recognize that photograph?
Yes.
Is that the home that you
Yes.
sold to Eric and he lived in?
Yes.
Is it an accurate depiction of that home?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, the state moves to admit 1-1.
No objection.
1-1 is admitted. Bear with me. There you go.
Where, Miss Richins-Benson, is that home located?
That is in Francis, Utah.
And is it, it looks like it's on a cul-de-sac. Is it on a cul-de-sac?
Correct. It's on a cul-de-sac.
When did you sell him the home?
In the latter part of 2012.
Had you been to the home regularly between then and when Eric died?
Yes.
Do you know how many homes are on that cul-de-sac today?
So on that cul-de-sac, there's 7 homes with driveways that go into that road and cul-de-sac.
And do you know how many homes and roads were on, homes and driveways were on that cul-de-sac in 2019?
Yeah, all the homes were built out by 2016.
Thanks, Scott. Scott, can you bring up 4-1? Can you scroll through it, please? Ma'am, do you recognize that document?
Yes, this is my brother's prenuptial agreement with Kouri.
And how do you recognize it?
I saw it the day they signed it. So on the day of his wedding is when they both signed it, and I read through it with him on the day of his wedding.
Your Honor, state moves to admit 4-1.
No objection.
4-1's admitted.
I'm going to leave it up there just for a minute for the jury, but I'm going to come back to that with them later. I'm not going to
Okay.
discuss that with you, okay?
Okay.
Thanks, Scott. I would like to turn now to the morning that Eric died. Did there come a time in the early morning of March 4th, 2022, that you received a phone call about Eric?
Yes, it was early in the morning.
Who called you?
My dad did.
What did he say?
It's not easy. He was screaming and crying and said, "Eric's not breathing, Eric's not breathing."
Where were you when you received that call?
So my daughter was sick. She was only 3 at the time, and she had just thrown up. I had taken her out of her room and brought her into my room, and I had just set her on the bed, and my husband had gone into the room to check on my other daughter that was a little bit older to make sure she was okay. I just set her on the bed, and I had my phone with me. I set it on the bed, and I saw my dad calling, and I picked up and said, "Dad, how did you know I was up with my sick little girl?" And he started, that's when he said, "Eric's not breathing, Eric's not breathing." I screamed. I fell to the floor. My husband heard me and came running in, and I was screaming, "He's not breathing." My husband thought that it was my daughter since she had just thrown up. So he ran over to her and said, "She's okay, Katie, she's okay." And I said, "No, it's Eric." And so I picked up my daughter that was right there. My husband went and got my other baby out of bed, and we ran out of the house.
Did you go to Eric's house?
Yeah, we went straight to my brother's house.
Who was there when you arrived?
Sorry, guys. This was the worst in my life. I'm sorry. When I got there was a bunch of emergency personnel, police officers, and Kouri and her mom, Lisa, were there.
Did you see the boys?
That was one of the first things I did, was try to find my nephews. They were in Ashton's room. I don't know how to orient you guys to the house. So as you walk in, Carter's room was to the right, and then you walk down a hall, and Ashton's room was the first room on the left, then it was Weston's room, then a bathroom, and then my brother's room. So the boys were located in Ashton's room. So there were police everywhere, there was EMS. I didn't know everything that was going on, but I didn't want the boys right there where everyone was. There's police right outside their door. So I went and got them and took them upstairs. So in my brother's house, you go up some stairs, and over the garage, there's a bonus room. And they had everything in there. They had a TV, a Nintendo, all their toys in there. So I took them up there because I didn't want them by all the hustle and bustle of all the police.
Emotional testimony there from Eric Richins' sister. But I want to thank Jack Rice for joining me today. He'll be around next hour as well. And coming up next hour, we stay in Utah as we continue to hear more testimony from Eric Richins' sister in the murder trial for Kouri Richins.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. And we are in Utah, where the murder trial of defendant Kouri Richins is now underway. Richins stands accused of spiking a cocktail with fentanyl that she made for her husband, Eric, in celebration of them closing a multi-million-dollar property. Well, prosecutors believe that Kouri attempted to kill Eric so that she could cash in on multiple life insurance policies, one of which they say she took out on him just weeks before his death. The state also claims that Kouri had a guilty conscience and then wrote a children's book on how to deal with grief almost a year later. Well, she then ended up promoting it on local TV and radio. Let's get you back into court now for more testimony from Eric's sister, Katie. She's still on direct by the prosecution.
So I took them up there, got them situated, then ran outside to my car to get my husband and my two daughters so that my husband could watch the boys and make sure that they were okay.
We'll talk more about the boys that day.
Okay.
Were you able to observe Kouri Richins that morning?
Yes, I did.
When you walked into the home, what were your immediate observations of her?
So like I had told you, we had gone on plenty of family vacations together. Kouri had been on the family vacations with us. I walked in, I kind of flung through the door, and I saw Kouri standing on the other side of the staircase. She just shook her head at me. Sorry, guys, bear with me, I apologize. And I knew right then my brother was gone. And I fell to the floor. She stayed over there. I observed that she was not how she normally was when we would go on overnights. She was very well put together. She had a matching pajama-esque outfit on. Her hair was all done up. She wasn't crying like I was. She wasn't hysterical. Just stood there and shook her head no at me.
What, if anything, did you observe about Kouri Richins' interactions that morning with her boys?
There weren't any until later in the morning. So, like I told you, my husband stayed up with the boys. I went up and down. My sister came up and down. A few people came up and down to check on the boys. I did not see her go up and check on the boys. And I repeatedly asked her, when can we tell the boys? I think we need to tell the boys. I kept coming down saying, I think the boys need to know. It wasn't until they wheeled my brother's body out, and I stood by the stairs, at the top of the stairs, to make sure my nephews didn't come out to see, because we didn't want it to see. And my husband was in the room with them. So they wheeled my brother's body out. My husband did his best. My daughter was throwing up, and he was trying to block it from the boys so that they didn't see my brother being wheeled out. The boys did see my brother being wheeled out. My husband came out and told me that they were upset. And so we walked down and talked to Lisa, Kouri's mom, and Kouri again, and I said, the boys are really upset. They just saw Eric wheeled out. I think we need to tell them. And Lisa said, I guess we better. And Kouri said, yep, bring him down. So then we brought him down, and that's the first I saw her interact with him.
Were you there when Kouri Richins told her sons that their father had died?
Yes, so my husband and I brought the kids down. We're sitting on a couch, and in my brother's living room, they have a couch that kind of goes like this, like kind of curves around. So my husband was sitting on the edge with our daughters. I was sitting next to them. Weston, my brother's youngest, that was 5 at the time, was sitting in between me and Kouri. Kouri was on the other side, and then the other 2 boys were in front of us.
And what did she say?
She let them know that their dad would not be coming back, that he was gone.
Just like that?
Yes, to my recollection.
Did there come a time shortly after that when she spoke alone with her middle son, Ashton?
Yeah, so right after she told the kids, Ashton got upset and went to his room. So his room was that room that they had been in. I went and checked on Ashton multiple times, and I remember him on his bed. He was on his bed with his covers pulled up, and I sat on the bed and I tried to console him, but he wanted his mom. I tried so hard to console him, but he wanted his mom. So I came out and told Kouri that Ashton was very upset and I thought she should go in. Took me a couple times of coming out to tell her, and I finally came out and I said, Kouri, I'm not his mom. I'm not his dad. He just lost his dad. He's very upset. I cannot console him. Can you please come in and talk to him? So she came into the room to talk to him. He got out of bed and ran to her. So they met kind of in the middle of the room. They held on to each other and then sat down on the floor, and I sat right next to him.
What did they discuss?
She was just consoling him, so just trying to get him to calm down. Right, that with Ashton, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
What did they discuss? She was just trying to console him.
Did they discuss Eric's Apple Watch?
They discussed Eric's Apple Watch later.
Okay, so we'll get to that.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Did there come a time when Kouri Richins was consoling Ashton there and she was interrupted?
Yes. So Brianne Sorensen, which I believe was Ronnie, Kouri's brother's fiance at the time, I think they were engaged at the time, she came in to talk to Kouri. It was really interesting because Kouri was consoling, and then she immediately kind of stopped and focused on, they would call her Bree. And Bree started talking about the closing of the Midway Mansion.
Say, Your Honor.
Do we need to go into that, Mr. Bloodworth? I guess what I'm saying is anything further regarding that necessary to develop the upcoming testimony?
Your Honor, the state's next question will be, how did Kouri react?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sustained. What Bree said is not admissible. Don't consider it.
Well, Your Honor, the content of the call, the content of the discussion.
Well, Kouri's side of it is not what they're objecting to. I think it's just that fact. Am I right, Ms. Nestor?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We're objecting to what Bree said.
Take it from there. I understand the contours here. Let's just wait for the next question.
Okay. How did Kouri react to what Bree said?
Kouri was very businesslike, very telling Bree exactly what to do, and I was dumbfounded. And I looked at Kouri and said, "You can't tell me you're going to close on that Midway Mansion when my brother just died." And she looked at me matter of fact and said, "Yeah, absolutely. He has nothing to do with it. The money's already gone through. It's all my business. I'm going to."
What about the Apple Watch?
So the Apple Watch, Ashton, once he eventually came out of his room, he went and got my brother's Apple Watch. Kouri was standing by him. She took it from him and he said, "I want my dad's watch." So I watched her take the watch, delete the entire watch, everything off of it, and then give it back to Ashton.
All right, as we head to break, folks, I want to check in on some breaking news out of California, where Nick Reiner has officially pleaded not guilty in the killings of his parents, actor-director Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer Reiner. Now, Nick was arraigned in court just earlier today. He sat in a glass box as usual and only spoke to the court to agree to waive his rights to a speedy trial. He was not wearing that suicide prevention smock that he was seen wearing during his first court appearance back in December. Well, Nick has been held without bail since his arrest. Now, hours after his arrest, a few hours after, parents were found stabbed to death in their home back in December of last year. Of course, we're going to continue following the case and bring you updates as we get them. Please don't go anywhere. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back in that court. Keep it here on Court TV.
This is the story of the Richins. Eric, a father of 3, met an untimely end, and Kouri, his widow, wrote a children's book on grief.
She's also charged now with his murder. He was faced with betrayal and terror.
I know her innocence.
Is their story a tragic romance?
Or a twisted tale of greed?
The truth will come out.
The Grief Author Murder Trial. Live coverage weekday mornings, 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
All right, welcome back, folks. We're heading back now to Utah for more key testimony in the murder trial of Kouri Richins. The children's book author is accused of killing her husband, Eric, back in 2022. Prosecutors believe that Kouri poisoned Eric with fentanyl, but the defense claims that Eric took the fentanyl on his own after a celebratory night. I want to get you back into court now, where Eric's sister is still on the stand, facing direct examination by the state.
On the morning that Eric died, did Kouri Richins say anything about the house that they were living in?
Yes, she told me, so the house, the 282 Willow Court that they were living in with their kids, she told me she was going to sell it.
Did anything about that strike you as odd?
Yes, I honestly could not function. I couldn't even figure out like what was for dinner that night. I had just lost one of the most important people in my whole entire life. And she was planning on selling the house that he had just been wheeled out of, closing on a multi-million-dollar mansion. I could not wrap my head around it.
The point that Eric died, who did the house belong to?
When Eric died, the house belonged to Eric. Eric was the trustee of his trust. So the house was in a trust, and Eric was the trustee.
And then once he died, who became the trustee?
I became the trustee.
After Eric died, did Kouri Richins have the ability to sell the house?
No, she did not.
That morning, did Kouri Richins say anything about Eric's stonemasonry business?
Yes. She had a plan for how she was going to run his stonemasonry business. She was going to hire one of his best friends. His name is TJ. TJ worked for Eric's business partner's dad and had grown up working with Eric and Eric's business partner, Cody, and Cody's family in their family business, and he still worked with Cody's dad, Shannon. So she said that she was going to hire TJ to run Eric's portion of the business for her, and that he would take care of all of it.
So am I right that the morning of Eric's death, Kouri Richins told you her plans on purchasing the Midway Mansion, selling the home she lived in, and running Eric Richins' business?
Correct.
Do you recall a family meeting that was held on March the 5th, 2022, the day after Eric died?
Yes, I do.
What was the purpose of that meeting?
It was to start preparing for the services for Eric.
And who participated in the meeting?
So myself, my husband, Clint, my sister was there, Amy, her husband, Andrew, my dad, Gene, his friend, Tisha, Corey's brother, Ronald Darden, or Ronnie, as they call him, her half-brother, DJ, her, I believe Bree was there as well, his fiance, and then her mother, Lisa.
Did you know Eric's wishes regarding burial?
Yes, my brother wanted to be buried.
As opposed to cremation?
Yes, my family is very big on burial and not cremation.
Did, in the course of that family meeting, the topic of cremation arise?
Yes, so we had gone through and planned the whole funeral. My brother would be buried by my mom, where he would be buried at, who the pallbearers would be, everything to like who would talk, who would say prayers, stuff like that. And at the very end, when I thought we kind of had it all wrapped up, Lisa Darden, Corey's mother, said, when are we going to talk about that Eric wanted to be cremated?
Did you observe Kouri react to her mother raising cremation?
Yes, I did. She looked shocked, like she was caught off guard at first. And then she went into it and said, oh yeah, he told me that he didn't want any bugs crawling on him after he was dead. It freaked him out, so we're cremating him. And I went on to ask, I said, Kouri, why did we just do a whole entire funeral based around the casket, the burial, the pallbearers, and now you're just bringing up cremation? And she played it off and said, oh, well, isn't that what you do when you cremate them? And to that point, I said no. And then my dad started getting visibly upset because he knew his son wanted to be buried.
I need to take care of some business with handwriting samples now, okay?
Okay.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Of course.
I'm handing the witness 8-49. Ms. Richins-Benson, are you familiar with that exhibit?
Yes, I am.
Generally, what is it?
So these are all handwriting samples from my brother, whether it be when he signed his name for stuff at work or for his will, any of that stuff.
Can you please just thumb through each of the tabs? I think, is there 14 of them?
16.
16.
Do I have to pay super close attention or am I okay?
No, I just want to make sure you know what they are.
Okay.
You've seen them before?
Yeah. Yeah, I have.
Okay. If you're comfortable that you've seen them before, there's no need to slip.
Yeah.
For K1, did you get those documents from the lender on the 282 Willow Creek Road property?
Correct.
And are they accurate copies of what you received from the lender?
Yes.
Did you then submit those to the Bennett Tueller law firm?
Correct.
On K2, did you receive those haircut receipts from Kouri Wright?
Yeah. So they are also receipts from like Wasatch Steel, different. I know there is a haircut one in here, but yeah,
Okay,
they're all different
Did you
receipts.
receive those receipts
Yeah.
from Kouri Wright?
Yeah.
Did you provide them to Bennett Tueller?
Yes, I did.
Can you turn please to K3 or tab 3? Under that tab, did you receive some tax documents from Greg White, some payroll documents from Integrated Solutions, and a hunting license?
Yes, these are all my brother's documents.
And did you submit those under tab 3 to Bennett Tueller?
Yeah. Only one I'm not 100% sure about is the hunting license, if I submitted that or not. I can't remember that one.
Okay. On K4, did you receive the check there from Allison, right?
Correct.
And did you get the loan documents on K4 from the lender on the 282 Willow Creek Road property?
Yes.
Did you submit those documents to tab 4 to Bennett Tueller?
Yes.
Tab 5, did you retrieve that driver's license from the mortuary that Eric's body was taken to?
Yes.
And did you submit that to Bennett Tueller?
Yes.
For tab 7, skipping 6, going to 7, did you receive those various construction contracts from Kouri Wright?
Yes.
And then did you give them to Bennett Tueller?
Correct.
For K11, did you obtain those healthcare records from IHC? Was
Yes.
that Intermountain Health something?
Yeah, Intermountain Healthcare.
Got it.
IHC's their old branding.
Did you submit those to Bennett Tueller?
Yes, I did.
For K12, did you receive copies of those checks and C&E business records from Allison Wright?
Yes.
And did you give them to Bennett Tueller?
Yes, I did.
For K13, there's some materials from a Ford dealership. Did you receive those from your husband, Clint Benson?
Yes.
And did you submit those to Bennett Tueller?
Yes.
Finally, for K14, is that a document from Weller Recreation Center that you received from your father?
Yes.
And did you give that to Bennett Tueller?
Yes, I did.
And did you give everything to Bennett Tueller in the same identical condition that you received it in?
Yes.
Thank you. Ma'am, I don't have any further questions from you at the moment.
Okay.
The defense attorneys probably will, okay? Thank you.